And many thanks to all our friends on the 5. This is a Fox News alert. Welcome to Hannity. Tonight we are following three major, huge breaking news stories. Liberals, the destroy Trump media, they are hyperventilating over news that Paul Manafort's home was raided in the early morning hours by the FBI. That's back in July. We will expose their massive double standard. We're also going to tell you tonight what Paul Manafort's huge mistake was. Also, the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell, he's whining to constituents, blaming President Trump and his, quote, excessive expectations for his repeated failures. Tonight, I have a message for the weak, spineless Senate Majority Leader, Senator Mitch McConnell. Plus, President Trump, his administration, they refuse to back down in this nuclear standoff that continues tonight with North Korea as the rogue regime issues yet a brand new threat. A top general saying Pyongyang is considering firing 4 missiles at Guam, and he's calling President Trump's fire and fury comments a load of nonsense. Really? Good luck betting on that. Tonight's very important breaking news monologue starts right here, right now. All right, the destroy Trump media, the Democrats, they are so over the moon. The special counsel, the conflicted Robert Mueller, is going after Paul Manafort after earlier today we learned that the FBI conducted this pre-dawn raid at Manafort's home back in July. Of course, the left-wing partisan press, they're foaming at the mouth, hyperventilating, jumping to conclusions, running with wild innuendos. Now, as it turns out, Paul Manafort, he did make a major, major error, major mistakes. Instead of cooperating like Paul Manafort has been doing, well, why didn't he just delete 33,000 emails? You know, the emails that probably dealt with a wedding, a funeral, yoga, emails to his wife who maybe didn't have an email. Why didn't he delete them all? And why didn't he acid wash them with bleach bit? Why didn't he have somebody smash his mobile devices with a hammer? Why didn't he just turn over all of his cell phones and BlackBerries to the FBI, except just remove the SIM cards in them? After all, that worked for Hillary Clinton. She did that. Or maybe Paul Manafort, maybe he should have threatened a federal official at a public hearing on tape for daring to gather evidence. That worked for Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And why didn't he just follow her example? After all, the Daily Caller is reporting that her aide smashed a hard drive, something he denies, and put of course, the broken up government property hard drive inside of his garage. Or what about this? Maybe Manafort should have simply refused to hand over any documents at all. Why? Because that worked for Eric Holder during Fast and Furious in that scandal. Or maybe Manafort, maybe he should have met with the Attorney General on a tarmac for 40 minutes and just had a little private discussion about their grandchildren, because that worked for Bill Clinton and Loretta Lynch. Now, the destroy Trump media, the Democrats, they're such massive hypocrites when it comes to law and justice in this country. All of those examples clearly prove it. Now, Paul Manafort, he did make a huge mistake. Paul Manafort should have followed the examples of Hillary Clinton, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Eric Holder, and Loretta Lynch. And Paul Manafort, he gets a pre-dawn raid. What did they think he was going to do? What the Democrats did in 5 minutes at 5 a.m.? You know, bleach pit, it probably takes a little bit longer than that. Smashing devices, that's hard work. That takes a long time. Now, they've completely ignored this massive Democratic scandal, scandal after scandal, that we've been reporting on this program night after night that the rest of the media ignores. They don't want to tell you these things. And as we have seen, the media is ready to literally jump to every conclusion and put Paul Manafort behind bars. Now, the problem is this Russia collusion witch hunt, it's now gone on for 11 months. So far, it hasn't produced much of anything. Where's the smoking gun? Where's the mountain of evidence that you have been promised day after day? The hysteria, conspiracy theories. So now what we have is the media cheering on Robert Mueller, who's conflicted, and hoping he finds something, literally anything. Also tonight, the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell, he's actually blaming President Trump and his excessive expectations as the reason why he hasn't enacted the agenda you voted for. Now take a look at Mitch McConnell making this ridiculous excuse to his constituents. It's pretty laughable.
Part of the reason I think that the storyline is that we haven't done much is because, in part, the president and others have set these early timelines about things need to be done by a certain point. Our new president has, of course, not been in this line of work before, and I think had excessive expectations about how quickly things happen in the democratic process.
He hasn't been in this line of work, in the swamp, in the sewer, doesn't understand the legislative process. Okay, this is beyond unbelievable. And the president, to his credit, he responded on Twitter. He wrote, quote, Senator Mitch McConnell said, I had excessive expectations, but I don't think so. After 7 years of hearing, repeal, replace, why is it not done? Now, Mitch McConnell, you have lived in this D.C. sewer and swamp, obviously, for way too long. And here's the thing that Mitch McConnell doesn't seem to understand. President Trump, he didn't set those excessive expectations. Senator McConnell, you did. Republicans did in the House and the Senate. You promised over and over and over again, over 7 years, that you were going to repeal and replace Obamacare. You couldn't even get the skinny repeal done. And Speaker Paul Ryan, he sat down with me in February. He promised that Republicans had a 200-day plan to get all kinds of the Trump agenda and all these items done for the American people. Well, guess what? It hasn't happened. So, Senator McConnell, my message to you. If all you're going to do is whine like a 10-year-old and complain and make excuses and blame the president for your failure after 8 months of him now being in office and you have in the House and Senate, guess what? It really is time to drain the sewer and swamp. You know, Mitch McConnell, have you ever had in all your years in politics an enthusiastic crowd like President Trump? I doubt it. The American people voted for this president's agenda. He has an identity. He has a plan. He's fighting every day. What do you even stand for at this point? He wants it enacted. He has a pen in hand. Senator, if you can't get it done, get out of the way. Retire. Leave Washington. Go play golf. Go fishing. And then, of course, you have people like Senator John McCain. Now, after casting the deciding vote to kill the effort, even the skinny repeal and replace Obamacare, well, McCain is back to criticizing President Trump for his tough words against North Korea. He lives to criticize President Trump. And he's saying that he's not sure how President Trump's tough rhetoric is going to help. Well, Senator McCain, you know, perhaps would you like to explain your comments and jokes supposedly about bomb Iran back in 2007? Did that help that situation? You might remember Senator McCain doing this.
That old Beach Boys song, Bomb Iran, you know, bomb, 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 bomb. Anyway,
Senator McCain, you've also, in the course of your career, you called for military intervention, let's see, in Libya, Syria, Ukraine, North Korea, and Iraq. And there's these comments from Senator McCain just a couple of weeks ago on the Senate floor. Senator, look at your own remarks.
I hope we can again rely on humility, on our need to cooperate, on our dependence on each other, to learn how to trust each other again, and by so doing better serve the people who elected us. Stop listening to the bombastic loudmouths on the radio and television and the internet. To hell with them. They don't want anything done for the public good. Our incapacity is their livelihood.
No, your inaction, your incapacity here, that's your problem. You made the promises, and your inaction is frankly embarrassing. And you made these promises, and Americans are suffering. Here's the thing. If senators like McCain, McConnell, Collins, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, you guys want to obstruct the entire Republican Party's agenda, the president's agenda, just like the Democrats, and then make excuses and cast blame here, there, and everywhere about why you can't do your job and fulfill your promises, well, I say it's now time to clean house. Let's put in new leaders in Washington who will keep their word, keep their promises, serve the American people. You know what? All of you senators, you should lose your chairmanships. We should put leaders in those positions in Washington who care about the American people, that have a sense of urgency about the 50 million in poverty on food stamps and the millions and millions out of the labor force. Finally tonight, President Trump, this is a crisis. His administration, they're not backing down amid the growing tensions with North Korea. Earlier today, President Trump took to Twitter. He said, my first order as president was to renovate and modernize our nuclear arsenal. It's now far stronger and more powerful than ever before. Hopefully, we will never have to use this power, but there will never be a time that we are not the most powerful nation in the world. And as Secretary of Defense, Mad Dog James Mattis followed that up with a strongly worded statement that reads in part, The DPRK must choose to stop isolating itself and stand down its pursuit of nuclear weapons. The DPRK should cease any consideration of actions that would lead to the end of its regime and the destruction of its people. And he continued with this, quote, the DPRK regime's actions will continue to be grossly overmatched by ours and would lose any arms race or conflict it initiates. Now, this situation with North Korea is extraordinarily dangerous for the entire world. And as I said last night, there are no good solutions. And what the Trump administration is now facing is the direct result of the policies of appeasement, the policies of capitulation to North Korean dictators. Let's go back to 1994, the Clinton administration. They struck a deal with Kim Jong-un's father, Kim Jong-il, whereas the New York Times reported the U.S. agreed to give North Korea, get this, $4 billion in energy aid over a 10-year period. Oh, with the promise in exchange that North Korea will freeze and eventually end their nuclear weapons program. Well, North Korea agreed, and guess what? They allowed inspectors into their nuclear sites, but they also were allowed to keep their nuclear fuel rods, which of course can be used to make weapons. Despite these concerns, Bill Clinton patted himself on the back and said this is a good deal for the American people. Turned out not to be such a good deal. Take a look.
This is a good deal for the United States. North Korea will freeze and then dismantle its nuclear program. South Korea and our other allies will be better protected. The entire world will be safer as we slow the spread of nuclear weapons.
Well, as we now know, well, the world's not a safer place. Wasn't a good deal for the American people. Bill Clinton was dead wrong. And at the end of the 1990s, North Korea test-fired a long-range missile. And that's why back in 1999, on Meet the Press, let's see if the mainstream media shows you this, then private citizen Donald Trump with Tim Russert criticized Bill Clinton's horrible deal. Watch this.
Tim, do you know that this country went out and gave them nuclear reactors, free fuel for 10 years? We virtually tried to bribe them into stopping, and they're continuing to do what they're doing, and they're laughing at us. They think we're a bunch of dummies. I'm saying that we have to do something to stop.
But if the military told you, Mr. Trump, we can't do this.
You give me two names. You're giving me two names. I don't know. Do you want to do it in 5 years when they have warheads all over the place, every one of them pointing to New York City, to Washington, and every one of us? Is that when you want to do it, or do you want to do something now? You better do it now.
You better do it now. Then in 2006, the rogue regime conducted its first nuclear test. And under the Obama administration, what do we see?
We're living with the threat to innocent American civilians as far as the eye can see.
Not a good option, as I've been saying, Ambassador. Pretty chilling. Thank you, sir, for being with us.
Thank you.
Here now with more reaction. The host of War Stories, Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North. Colonel, here's the bottom line. North Korea is now a nuclear power. Not a lot of good options.
And it poses an immediate, serious threat, existential threat to the United States. Let me just take a step further from what Ambassador Bolton just said. Our only thing that we can do right now, short of military action, is to convince Chinese President Xi that it's in Chinese interests to act now against Kim Jong-un. Look, unless Xi intervenes, the United States is going to have to take preemptive military action. And that's going to have catastrophic consequences for North Korea and the People's Republic of China. Think about this. Up to 20% of the North Korean population of 25 million is likely to flee on foot across the Yalu and Tumen rivers and take to the sea like the boat people from Vietnam. Here are 10 things our president should do to convince Xi that we are deadly serious, because Kim Jong-un is not listening. It won't matter. But Xi can make the difference. 1, press for the President Moon and the Republic of Korea to bring in as many THAAD systems as we can deliver. Number 2, ask Israel to provide Iron Dome or even David Sling systems to the Republic of Korea to deal with the North Korean artillery on the DMZ. Number 3, return the tactical nukes to the Republic of Korea that we withdrew back in the 1990s. Thank you, Mr. Clinton. Deploy another carrier strike group to the region and more long-range strike aircraft and air tankers to Guam and Okinawa. Deploy search and rescue assets. Here, try this. Ask Xi if we can base some of our SAR assets in China to recover the air crews. It's unlikely he's going to agree, but it may wake up the Politburo in Beijing. Number 6, deploy the hospital ships Mercy and the Comfort from Norfolk and San Diego. Send them out there. Very clear signal America's getting ready to act. Number 7, deploy another U.S. Marine and Navy Expeditionary Unit to the region. Number 8, deploy more ISR, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, satellites, and UAVs, and update our target list, and that will leak in Washington, believe me. Number 9, deliver biological and chemical weapons protection equipment to the Republic of Korea, and pray that Xi sees the light. All those things are necessary before military action can be taken. Doing these steps right now may help convince President Xi and the People's Republic of China Politburo that the U.S. is deadly serious, and it could preclude the necessity of using our own military assets.
Colonel, as usual, we've been friends a long time. I'm very impressed. I know how well thought out that is, and on the American side, we better continue strategic defense with massive redundancy, because we don't know. The proliferation now is way out of control, and Iran is probably just a few years, maybe even sooner, away from putting us in this position as well. Colonel, thank you. Appreciate it. Safe home.
Well, they're joined at the hip with the North Koreans. Semper Fi, buddy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Semper Fi. A quick programming note. You can catch War Stories, Colonel North on the Fox Business Network, our sister network. And coming up, Geraldo Rivera, Judge Jeanine Pirro, they weigh in on Paul Manafort's big mistake. We'll tell you about that. And what do you do about Mitch McConnell? It's time for him to leave the swamp, the sewer. Straight ahead.
Live from America's News headquarters, I'm Marianne Rafferty. New information tonight about that failed plot to blow up a commercial jet out of Sydney last month. The Wall Street Journal reports that the explosive device was shipped from Turkey to Australia by air cargo, evading security along the way. The plotters in Sydney then received the package, assembled the bomb, put it in their luggage, and went to the airport. But for reasons unknown, they abandoned the plan before going through security. The plot has prompted concern about shipping security as well as the ability of jihadist networks to work together on a global scale. And a Russian spy plane flying over Bedminster, New Jersey, where President Trump is staying on vacation. The jet was permitted to fly through the temporary flight restriction airspace established around Trump National Golf Club. It's part of the Open Skies Treaty with Russia. I'm Marianne Rafferty. Now back to Hannity.
Welcome back to Hannity. So earlier today, after it was discovered that the FBI had carried out a search warrant in the Virginia home of Paul Manafort back in July, mainstream media foaming at the mouth, hysteria, and literally so excited. And by the way, the same were already predicting doom and gloom for Manafort. Don't we believe that you're innocent until proven guilty? He should have followed Hillary's example. Watch this.
It does raise the question, why this raid if he has in fact been cooperating?
This is a suspicion of criminality. It may be by Manafort, maybe by somebody else, and a fear by the FBI that there was information in that house that would be destroyed unless produced forcibly.
Generally speaking, is this a good thing for Paul Manafort?
It's a bad thing for Paul Manafort. It puts him dead center of the Mueller investigation.
This clearly is not a case where we hear from Paul Manafort's spokesperson, attorney, who says, we are fully cooperating. Mueller and his team obviously felt something different.
Now, what happened to innocent until proven guilty? I know it's so outdated, and I so believe in it. Joining us now with reaction, Fox News correspondent at large, Geraldo Rivera, and the host of Justice, Judge Jeanine Pirro. You know, first of all, the pre-dawn raid makes me laugh. Geraldo, what did they think? That the guy was going to bleach bit everything, smash everything if they didn't go in the early hours that morning after he had testified the day before? And didn't he make a mistake not following Hillary and Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Loretta Lynch's and Eric Holder's lead? He could have deleted everything. He could have bleach bit everything, hammered everything. Why didn't he do that?
All I know, Sean, is that the two scariest words in Washington are pre-dawn and raid. Pre-dawn raid is something you don't want in your house. And the fact that it happened less than 24 hours after he was cooperating, presumably, with the Senate Intelligence Committee staffers is a clear indication, I mean, legally speaking, that they were worried that he was either going to destroy evidence or that a crime had been committed. The good news for President Trump is that Manafort is now forced to turn over, or they seized his tax and banking records which is an indication, Sean, that Manafort is the target, not Russiagate or President Trump. You know, he got millions from the Russian-oriented Ukraine government over the years before he was the campaign manager. It looks like they are wondering, or they are inquiring, or they are probing whether he hid millions of dollars in foreign bank accounts. It's not about Trump, it's about Manafort.
No. But he's still innocent until proven guilty, one. And obviously, I'm messing around that he made a mistake. But in a very real sense, Judge, if he would have done what Hillary and all these other people did, why wouldn't he get away with it? Obviously, they set a precedent.
Well, I'll tell you why he wouldn't get away with it. First of all, you know, I'm a former DA and a judge, and I can't go along with destroying and concealing evidence. But what I do agree with you on, Sean, is
being
this.
sarcastic.
I know you are, but this is what I agree with you on. The Democrats do whatever they can to destroy a Republican when they've got a Republican in their sights. The problem with the Republicans is they don't follow the idea of law and order and put Democrats in their sights, such as Hillary Clinton, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and the rest of them. But Sean, let me explain one thing. I used to sign these orders. I used to seek these orders. You go before a federal judge and you convince that judge that there is evidence of a crime. You convince the judge that there is probable cause, and the judge signs it. Now, the feds play not just a legal game, but a psychological game. And the game that's being played here right now is this. You've got Paul Manafort, I believe, by the short hairs, because they are looking at things that involve the Foreign Banking Acts and foreign agents and all this stuff he did before. But that doesn't put the president on a free ride right now. What is happening is they're going to squeeze Manafort, irrespective of what the underlying crime is, to get to the president for anything. The fact that they're outside of the Russia charge is certainly outside of their investigative powers, but they don't care. They'll get Manafort to flip.
That's the danger, Sean. The danger is that
to get him to flip.
Right. As Manafort feels the pressure, and now he's facing felonies, let's say, about hidden millions, let's say, and foreign bank accounts, let's say, they say to Manafort, okay, we'll go easy on you. We'll give you a one felony, a year in jail, if you tell us everything you know, if he knows anything about Russiagate and about Trump and about the 2013 Miss Universe pageant and so forth and so on. I think that's the danger to the president, that Manafort will turn snitch.
All right, stay right there. More with Judge Jeanine. More with Geraldo after the break. Also, is it time for Mitch McConnell to step aside? Absolutely. That's next.
Our new president had, of course, not been in this line of work before, and I think had excessive expectations about how quickly things happen in the democratic process.
All right, that was the week. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell actually blaming the president, saying he had, quote, excessive expectations. Senator, no, he doesn't. You guys have been promising this for 7.5 years. Really? Excuses? Can you not do your job with some sense of urgency? As we continue, Geraldo Rivera, Judge Jeanine Pirro. I don't even know how to react to this, Geraldo, except to say, you know, Americans don't get vacations like these guys.